Right. So welcome to session 5 on new methods. And the first speaker is going to be Issa Bldiar from the University of Memphis. And his talk will be on Grammulator, linguistic analysis of the slave oral narratives in the Federal Writers Project 1936 to 1938.
Thank you. Thank you very much for presenting me. My name is Issa Bldiar, and if you wonder what does Issa mean, Issa means Jesus or Jesus in Arabic. So you can just call me Jesus or Jesus. All right, for the sake of simplicity. Okay, so my topic is using Grammulator to analyze some linguistic features of the AAVE, African American Vernacular Language, and the slaves' narratives. And the slaves' narratives were recorded in the Federal Writers Project between 1936 and 1938. And that was the recording was they recorded. This project recorded oral narratives, and those were kept in the Congress, Library of Congress for a long time until up now, and were transcribed, and some studies tapped into that to see some grammatical features. And mine used the Grammulator. And if you wonder what the Grammulator is, it is a software tool that analyzes discourse. It's not working. I turned it off.
Okay, if you can use this one now, and I'll put it on the.
Okay. All right. So the English. The African American Vernacular English was treated in different ways in the linguistic field, and some related them to the Creole hypothesis. And this hypothesis states that this version of English was like, it was a kind of imported with the slaves and inherited from their first languages, and it has added to it some features from the English language. And it's not the product of English, rather it's the product of some early versions. And these versions were the versions, the type of probably dialects or languages spoken by the slaves back in their countries. Crowd studies focused on the external rather than on the internal description of the African vernacular language. And they did not focus on what was the external reasons that made this kind of dialect very specific and peculiar, and it is very different from standard English. And there's another trend within the cryolists that concentrated on the internal linguistic change, and especially that of the copula absent, because they realized that during the use of this version of English, there is no copula. And that's not the fact with the standard English. And they attributed that to some other languages that these slaves were speaking before, and then when they acquired English, they transferred these features into English, and the copula was lost in their speech. And the cryolist hypothesis interpreted probably most of the linguistic features in the African American vernacular version in terms of first language interference. That those slaves brought the language and linguistic features and transferred into English. Then there was socio-historical factors that contributed to the emergence and development and the isolation of the African American vernacular English, and it's completely different from Southern, the other version of standard or other versions of Southern English spoken by the whites. Then we have the standardization hypothesis, which was based on the fact that you probably need to wait for this device to just get recognized. Okay, thank you. The standardization hypothesis states that African American vernacular English is moving towards standardization, standard English, and it's no more peculiar or no more isolated from standard English. In the linguistic history of African American vernacular English, especially the grammatical, is far from being resolved due to varying methodological practices. This hypothesis puts the blame on the approach of study, because most of the studies, they were targeting the external factors that might have formulated the current status of African American vernacular English. The study of African American vernacular and spoken English by pre-adolescent and adult peer groups in Harlem, Labov, and others, 1968, challenged the ILLS position. And this study revealed that some features are surfacing out of the use of the African American vernacular English in that environment, and it's the product of this particular environment, and it's especially the product of the new generation linguistic development. And differences between black and white speech are not manifested at the level of deep structure. And the ILLS hypothesis claimed that at the level of deep structure analysis, there are huge differences in the shifts of the verbs and nouns and the NB and VB. But this more studies on the on urban African American English revealed that there is no, basically there is no significant difference at the deep structural level, and the difference is only at leveling, low level and high level, rather than difference of the deep structure. And it's African American vernacular English is a subsystem within the larger grammar of English. More studies supported this hypothesis, especially sociolinguistic studies rejected the ILLS hypothesis and suggested that African American English is distinct, has its own distinct system, and it is within the general system of English. It's not imported with the slaves from their first languages. And these were the problems that emerged with the with these studies that covered the African American vernacular English, much of which were sociolinguistic research focused on urban Northern African American English, and ignored most of the origins of these versions, which emerged from the plantations and the plantation use and the slaves who were in the plantation and initiated the early versions of this language or dialect within English. Studies of the 1980s trend, they focused on the diachronic and synchronic issues in relationship between the Southern American and African American English and the white English. The purpose was to reveal similarities between white and black English, and if these features were available in both white and black, then the Cryolist hypothesis will be completely rejected, and African American Vernacular English is the product of subsystem of the English language itself, and it's not a change or interference because of the languages that were imported with the slaves, and they worked out within English and they have their own system. 1980s to 2000, there was a consensus among researchers that African American Vernacular English is a subsystem of English, and all the grammatical features are almost available in the white vernacular as well in the black vernacular, especially in the South. For example, like the deletion or addition of the SV agreement. He go versus I goes. These features were found in both the black and white versions, vernaculars. Then the divergence hypothesis. Again, there was more research emerged and supported that the two systems are completely different and they cannot be one is a subsystem under the other one, and they are getting apart with their new features, grammatical, phonological, and semantic. There was a very long study in Springville, Texas, that lasted for about 13 years, and it showed that the developmental changes in the linguistic features and grammatical features of these versions are diverging rather than converging, the white and the black vernaculars. The purpose of this study is to explore the types and frequency of grammatical features in the spoken versions of the African American Vernacular English in rural South, and with a special focus on the ex-slaves oral narratives. The corpora, it was taken from the slave narratives between 1936 to 1938. They were and aged above 80 years, and the corpus consists of 135 different narratives from slaves who were born between 1840 and 1855, and some of them were born in the South, and some of them were brought. They were children when they were brought to slavery in the southern plantations. None of them spoke any language before that, so there's no possibility of creolization. The sample comprised female 66 and male 65. I'm not tackling any gender differences here, but to balance the sample. The Grammulator is a textual analysis system, identifies key linguistic features. It's a software where you can upload any text, and you ask for different tools incorporated within the system, and you can make different types of analysis, qualitative or quantitative. It is designed to allow researchers and material designers to identify indicative lexical features of texts and text types. Grammulator is designed to identify differential linguistic features or of correlative text types. So it can indicate differential or typical sometimes. You can see the differences or the similarities between the texts. This is the Grammulator, the shape, how it looks like, and I'm going to just after the presentation, 5 minutes to run the actual tool to see how it works. Process of data analysis, data cleansing. It was trimming down out all the data that is not actually narrative. The interviewers' comments and words and questions were taken off, so we're left with just the pure narrative, classifying narratives in file, and these are the just the typical way of preparing the data for the Grammulator. So the output is bigrams, means two words, Trigrams, it's obvious 3 words, and quadrigrams means 4 words. So these are samples of the output of the linguistic analysis that the software made to the linguistic features. And as you see, that one of the features is the overgeneralization of the subject-verb agreement. It's there. In the trigram, the overgeneralization of was, verb be, to all types of pronouns, we, was, instead of we were. We're going to see more of that. And the quadrigram presented more collocations of the linguistic features of the slave narratives. They are illiterate, they are old, they were illiterate, and they did not speak any language. This is their only language and their only system. These are some of the results, the output of the Grammulator analysis, and these are the bigrams, trigrams, and quadrigrams, and you can see the linguistic features. They are peculiar and very different from even the urban, modern, vernacular American English, where we have some of these forms are still available and some of them disappeared and just faded away. And they deviate from the standard system of the English language, of course, but the question is, are they mistakes and errors? Are they acceptable? Are they part of the specific or peculiar system that is within the African American vernacular language? These are more of the analysis. As you see, they deviate, they breach the rules, grammatical rules of standard English, and there are a lot of linguistic analysis in there. You can look at it from different ways: surface structure, deep structure, subject-verb agreement, linguistic environment, interaction between the words, verb choice from different corners. This is the development of the vernacular African American vernacular English over the years from 1913 to 1982. These are the plus and minus features available, collected from different studies. For the person S, minus means not there, plus it is there. So if you look at 1913 to 1982, it comes back and forth, appears and disappears from the AAVE, depends on the social, educational, many factors come into play. The research is not conclusive in this area. They don't know why these features, they are available, not available. Over the years, they come and go. And these are more the features are on and off. Okay, so this is the probably I'm not giving results. I'm not giving conclusion. I'm gonna give just some discussion results because research is not conclusive. I'm not claiming that I'm gonna give something conclusive on this. Just revealing the facts, but something that has not been studied before, and they alternate AAVE. They alternate forms, linguistic options, sometimes on and off features, and they alternate between standard and substandard. That does not mean they're incompetent in their language, but they have their own probably language competence, variation between standard English, and may be affected by internal grammatical constraints, and may be affected by external, like education and environment. Absence of copula in African American English is shared by a number of languages. It's not something unique, shared by Semitic languages, Arabic, Hebrew, Russian, Hungarian, a lot of languages that lost the copula as the presented by Spanish conflict features. Limitation of the study: the transcribers of the oral slave narratives in the Federal Rights Project were not linguists, so they were just people who just recorded these, and some of the features were when they transcribed that into a standard English, they probably transformed this into standard. And some of the one of the interesting facts that I did not find, the double modal, I would have I might could, something like I might could or I would could. That was not available in my corpora. It was expected to be there in the south sort of plantation, but it did not pop up in my data. Probably that was because of the transcription. Thank you very much.
So we have 10 minutes for questions.
Yes, probably. Yeah, you can have. We can have questions until I get it ready.
Ask a question myself. Just for clarification, I'm not sure whether I quite understood the chart that you had with the pluses and minuses. Do you think you could open it up?
Sure.
Yeah. So is each. What does it actually mean with a plus and minus?
Plus and minus. For example, number one, the person S. He likes traveling. That's the standard. It should be there. Plus, that means the S is available with the subject-verb agreement. It's there. It agrees with the standard English. Minus, that means the speaker will say he like traveling. Okay, minus means the C is missing, the S is missing.
Okay,
plus means the S is on.
Is there one occurrence, or is it that you've seen it for all of the utterances from the same person?
For Mary, one person was studied in 1913. Her name was Mary. Over time, we don't know the number of years, we're not stated, but she was studied, her language was studied, and this is her production. She is not having the S agreement available in the data.
Okay, and that's every time she uses the same construction.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
So
that is the feature, part of her competence.
So the same person always uses the same form.
Exactly. For Wallace, for example, 1913, this feature was there. The grammatical feature SV agreement S, it was available. So on go on 41 there, 42, like it's up to, it started to go away after 1980. It's not available. So that's the change. So that means there is no any external influence on that. It's internal change that took it from minus to plus, plus, minus, minus, plus, so it's not as stable.
Okay, thank you.
My question is about the bigrams you were showing in your table. I didn't really get what
the Grammulator.
Yeah. When we go back. Okay. No. Just a couple of slides later. Okay. So here I understand what's going on with trigrams and quadgrams, but with bigrams, what's going on? To the was standalone, just that phrase.
Okay. So when I'm going to show this in a minute. In actuality, but this is the data will be uploaded to the machine, to the software, and you ask for 2-word occurrences, 3-word occurrences, and the maximum it gave is 4-word occurrences. And then you have another tool. You take the full word and search them in context. Do you want to see them in just in isolation to see the grammatical feature? That will make it easier. You're going to see, for example, ain't able to do. You do want to see this, contextualize it in a big text. There's another tool. Just put it in there and hit research. And hopefully I'm going to show this to you just in a practice, practically right now. If we get the tool working, it should. Yes, yeah, we can take questions while we get this ready.
My question is related to the hypothesis that people most of them put forward in terms of the morphosyntactic structure of, African American variety of English. Can't we try to hypothesize on the perspective of language acquisition to say that?
So your question is about natural versus taught. People were taught some languages before they were brought here into.
No, yeah, I haven't finished the question. Yes, my question is on the perspective of exposure to the target language. Those slaves, they were sort of segregated, from their masters. Can't we hypothesize that the morphosyntactic structure, the morphosyntactic structure of the English was due to insufficient positive, input, which resulted in fossilization. And then the kids who were acquiring, language from their parents, they acquired the fossilized version of English as the L1, and then from that point they developed, the English, which is now called, deviant form of, the standard English.
Yes, I agree with you. The input plays a very crucial role in our linguistic competence. But my point is not whether they were taught the standard versions of English by their masters. The point where did they have a first language when they came to American South? Were they born in the American South without any language and English was the only language that they acquired? Or were they brought by some Creole background, any African language that were then submerged with English and produced that third version? So is this production, the linguistic features we see in the analysis, are they the product of creolization? Is it the product of idiosyncratic features within the African American vernacular English itself? So that is the bigger question researchers were trying to answer from the beginning of their studies. So are we having a language of its own system or a product of other languages mixing, number of languages mixing to produce a new version? Did I answer your question?
Yes, sort of, but I still consider that those slaves, when they came, they had their first language. Which
there is a dispute over that.
How could they come?
That's one hypothesis.
They were speaking African languages.
How about our kids who were born in the South and taken away from their parents at the age of 1? And sold to another plantation, and they lived in an English-speaking family. They have never heard any other language than English, and yet they have their own peculiar, specific, independent English system.
Yes, we will. I think we can dispute that case, because kids are not only exposed to the language when they are born. There are research which show that kids, even before their birth, there are studies, before their birth, they can still pick some of the elements of their first language.
I agree. And you're talking about Chomsky's LAD, language acquisition device, and that device does not say any language. It says the device is there and it's available with the human being. The LAD is available for anyone, but it needs formalization through input. If you put the child with LAD within any, without any speaking environment, you will not speak any language.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay, so to answer your question, this is one tool among other tools within the Grammulator. So if you want, for example, to search about any feature, so suggest any feature, now you can come up with any feature. You want to look up the, for example, the deletion of I gets, we're going to see if this is available in the data. So just we go to process and see It pops up. It's here. Can you see it? It's right here. It's in the data. So you can put any feature, any grammatical feature that you suspect it's there, and search it in the tool. So I have 132 different narratives now uploaded to this system. So whatever feature you want to, and you can let the device search. The device search will produce bigrams, trigrams, and quadrigrams, but it won't let you see these in context. If you want to see in context, just bring the any feature and search it in context, and you can see it in that way.
Thank you. That's all the time we have.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.